Hey, it's Miss Messer here, and today we're going to talk about how to factor trinomials in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. And so right now we are going to only focus on when my a value is a 1. Next week we'll talk about how to factor trinomials when the a value is greater than 1. All right, so what we're going to do is just multiply, or to find some factors that multiply to give us our c value, which is this last number in the trinomial, and those two same numbers have to add up to give me my b value, which is the middle number. So you're finding factors of c that add up to give you b. And the first few that we look at, they're all going to be plus signs, so it's pretty simple. And then we move into some plus minuses and then some minus minuses. And so you have to be very cautious of your signs. So I have little tricks for you to remember if you're not really good with your adding and subtracting rules. And so what we've got here, I'm just going to put some tricks up here on the top. So if your all of your problems are plus plus, you got a positive b and a positive c, this will yield to an answer of plus plus. That one's pretty simple. If you have a negative c, I don't care what my b value is, if it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. But if your c value is negative, this is going to make a plus negative or a negative plus. Okay, the order of your plus and minus doesn't matter, but it does need to go with the sign of the bigger number. We'll talk about that when we see those problems. And the last type of problem happens when my c value is positive but my b is negative. So we're going to look at these, and this is going to give me a minus minus in my problem. Sorry, my dogs are getting my nerves. All right, so these are just some tricks, and again, we use these if we are awful with knowing our sign rules, adding and subtracting. So either memorize these rules or make sure you're good with your adding and subtracting. Can you guys go play somewhere else? All right. So these first few problems, if you take a look, they're all plus plus, all the way from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are all plus pluses, so we're going to start off very basic. Then we get into the ones where my c value are negative. And so these are going to cause my answer to be positive and a negative. All of my c values here are negative. And then we'll look at the back side and see what happens over there. All right, so this first one, what you're going to do is I usually just set up my two houses. I put in my x's, and I know my signs are plus plus because it starts out as plus plus in my problem. So I need to find factors of 12 that add up to give me 7. And you probably already know what that is. You're like, that is 3 and 4, Miss Messer, super easy. Sometimes we don't see them off the bat here, so I would list my factors starting with 1. And so sometimes this little list here will help us determine what two numbers would add up to give me my middle number. And sometimes just seeing them, it makes it a little bit clearer. So clearly we know that 3 times 4 is 12 and 3 plus 4 is 7. So those are my two answers, and that is all. All right, so number 2, same thing. We're looking for factors of 20. That would add up to give me a 9. And like I said, listing those factors, and I just list them in order, you don't have to. You can clearly see the middle term there. We're looking for a 9, and so you can see that that is 4 and 5. So plus plus, because that's what my problem is. So n plus 4, n plus 5. Again, 4 times 5 is 20. 4 plus 5 is 9. And that is all you have to do on those problems. So if you want to, you can pause the video and give 3, 4, 5, and 6 a try. And then you can unpause the video and see if you got them correct. So again, you can check your work. Just throwing these answers up here very quickly. And it doesn't matter what number you put first in the parentheses. So if you have them backwards, as long as you have each house, with the a plus 4, for example, and an a plus 6. I don't care if the a plus 6 came first or second. All right, so those are pretty basic, super duper easy. All right, now we have these negative c values. And so remember, if you don't know your sign rules, then you might want to focus in on this rule, which tells me I'm going to have a positive and a negative in my parentheses. Now, I don't care if negative comes first or the positive comes first. It really depends on the number as far as adding and subtracting. And what do I mean? I'll show you an example. It's probably going to make more sense if I actually look at one here. All right, so I have a negative 18. And I know the rule says you're going to find factors that multiply to give you C and that add to give you B. And that's if you want to put your plus and minuses all in your factors here. But I'm going to ignore my minus sign for now. And I'm just going to list my factors. So these are the factors of 18. This minus sign, this is the way I do it because I think it makes a little more sense. This minus sign tells me this time I'm going to look for numbers that subtract. And the reason is because one of these is positive and one's negative. And you remember your sign rules when you're adding like terms. If the signs are different, you're going to subtract to keep the sign of the bigger number. All right, with that being said, n, and I'm looking for a 3. So when I subtract, I get 17, I get 7, and I get 3. So this is my answer here, 3 and 6. So now I have to figure out, is it a positive 3 or a negative 3? Is it a positive 6 or a negative 6? I know that it's not two plus pluses because my starting trinomial was not plus plus. So they're both not plus pluses. And I know they're both not minus minus because, again, my C value is not positive. And we know that a negative 3 times a negative 6 is a positive 18. So that just wouldn't make any sense. And also, when I added those two negatives together, I would have gotten negative 9, not positive 3. So we have to determine, how can I make a positive 3? Would it be a negative 3 plus 6? Why, yes, it would. That gives me my positive 3. If I would have switched my signs and said negative 6, positive 3, when I put these together, that gives me a negative 3, and I wanted a positive 3. You see how that works? You just have to remember your sign rules when dealing with adding and subtracting integers. So again, I needed a positive 6 and a negative 3. These two multiply to give me negative 18, and they add to give me positive 3. Okay, so just double check those values to make sure that it makes sense. All right, let's take a look at another one. This is a negative 8. So I have 1 and 8, 2 and 4. Because that's negative, I know I have to subtract my two numbers, and I'm looking for a 2. So which one of these subtract to give me a 2? 2 and 4. So I have x something 2 and x something 4. I need to make sure my sum of those two values gives me a positive 2. So you have to kind of play the sign game is what I call it. You can use your calculator to try these numbers if you're not real good with your sign rules. But I know that my middle number is positive, so I'm going to keep the bigger number positive and my smaller number negative. And you just want to double check that. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Check. And negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2. Check. So it does work out. All right, so if you want to try, let's see here, let's go to, because now we start to get some negative b's down there at 14 and 15. So if you will, go ahead and try through 14. So you can pause this video and try through 14. Again, watch those signs, and that's where most of the students make their mistakes, are their signs. All right, so pause the video and try through 14, and then unpause the video and you can check your answers with me. Ooh, 54. I'm going to have to work that one out. I don't have my answer key with me. Was that 3 and... I need a calculator. Why is my brain... It's too early in the morning is what it is. So that's 1, 24... Oh, that's 18. That's not going to give it to me. How about 4? Does 4 go in that? No, 5, 4? Yeah, 4 goes in that, doesn't it? 16 times? No. No, 4 doesn't go in there. 5, 6, and 9. Oh, that's my number, 6 and 9. Hello. There we go. Positive 9 because I have a positive 3 in the center there. All right, 45, that's going to be positive 9 and negative 5. That gives me positive 4 in the center and negative 45 when I multiply. 28, that's going to be positive 7 and negative 4. Positive 7 take away 4 is positive 3. When you multiply, you get negative 28, so that works. And this one is 3 and 10, so positive 10 and a negative 3 gives me positive 7 when I add and negative 30 when I multiply. This is going to be positive 6 and negative 1. All right, so hopefully those are the answers that you got. If not, please shoot me an email, ask me some questions, and I will help you. All right, now if you notice these next set of problems still have a negative C value, but my B value is negative. I'm still going to have a plus and a minus in my answer. Okay, so I just do it the same way. 63, 1 and 63, 3 and 21, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. 7 and 9 are my answers there because I'm looking for a 2. So what kind of 7 and what kind of 9 would give me a negative 2? If you said negative 9 and a positive 7, you're correct. Okay? So just remember those sign rules. Keep the sign of the bigger number. So go ahead and try 16, 17, and 18. You do them the same way. You just have to make sure that your two numbers will add correctly to the middle number. So pause the video and give it a try. This would be a negative 3. Positive 1, that multiplies to negative 3, and that adds to negative 2, so that's correct. Let's see here. Ooh, 64, I'm going to have to write this one out. 64, 2 and 32. No, 4 goes into there. 4, 1, 24. Is that 16? Yeah, that's my answer right there. So that's a negative 16 and a positive 4. That checks out to give me a negative 12, correct? And a negative 64, so that's good. 72, let's see, we were 1 and 72, 2 and 36, 3 and... See, my dogs are driving me crazy because I can't focus. Hey! Okay, so 3 and, where was I? 3 and 72. I knew that. Is that 24? Jeez. All right. See, even sometimes Miss Messer has to work some stuff out to the side. Does 4 go into 72? 1, 4, 32, 18 times. Oh, that's the one I need to, isn't it? Because 4 and 18 gives me 14. So that's negative 18 and positive 4. There we go. So just find your factors. And like I said, I don't have a calculator handy, so I'm just having to do this off to the side. And there you have it. All right. So hopefully you got those correct. And again, if your C value is negative, your answer is going to have a plus minus. So that just tells you you're going to have to be extra careful finding your numbers that add up to give you your middle. All right, let me see on this back side of this worksheet. These are more of the same. You got negative C values here. So when my C value is negative, just remember that your answers, you're going to have one of each sign. Again, I don't care if plus or minus comes first. All right, now take a look at these next problems. I have a positive C value and a negative B value. And again, normally I wouldn't need to memorize all these. I just know my sign rules. But if you struggle with your sign rules, these are little tricks you can use. Oops, I have that backwards. So this would yield to a negative and a negative answer. So number 21, I have a positive 24. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. These are all factors of 24. And I'm looking for an 11. So 3 and 8 would give me my 11. And because my B value is negative, then I know that both 3 and 8 must be negative. Because when I add those together, I get negative 11. 49, you have 1 and 49, 7 and 7. So I need a 14, so we're going to use 7 and 7. And again, it's a negative 14, so both numbers would need to be negative in order for that to happen. All right, so pause the video and try 23 through 26 and see what you come up with. All right, so let's see here. This one's going to be -8 and -9. That gives me negative or positive 72 when I multiply, and negative 17 when I add. Number 24 is going to be a -10 and a -5 because that multiplies to give me 50 and adds to give me -15. Let's see here. Is that 4 and 12? -4 and -12 gives me -16 when I add, and when I multiply, I get positive 48. And number 26 is going to be both a -2 and a -1. When I multiply, I get a positive 2, and when I add, I get -3. So those all work out. The next ones are just all mixed up, and they give you 2 variables. So I'm just going to pick a few of these to do. And so this first one, number 27, I have 42 that I'm looking for. So 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14, 4 doesn't go, 5, 6 and 7. So I'm listing all my factors and I'm looking for 13. That would be my 6 and my 7. This one's got 2 letters. So when you put in your answers in, you're going to have x plus 6y. And x plus 7y. Just make sure you put that second letter with that second term. So again, you can give those a try, practice those. But I really want to jump down here to these multi-step problems. You want to look for a GCF first, and then you're going to factor out the trinomials. So let's just take an example like number 31. You got a 4, a 12, and an 8. So you want to ask yourself, what number goes into 8, 12, and 4? If you said 4, you are correct. So you want to factor out that 4. That leaves me with n squared plus 3n plus 2. So now you can factor this trinomial. So they're all positive, so that's easy enough. So what times what gives you 2 and adds up to a 3? If you said 2 times 1, you are correct. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3. And all you got to do is remember to drop that GCF out front, and that's your answer. Okay, so let's take a look at, say, number 33. I've got a 3, a 15, and a 12. What can I divide by? If you said 3, you are correct. So this gives me a y squared minus 5y plus 4. So now I can factor the trinomial inside the parentheses. And this is a positive c value with a negative b value. So I know my answer is going to be 2 negatives. And 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 plus 1 is 5. So -4 plus -1 is -5, so that works there. And then put your GCF out front, and you are good to go. So you can try those other problems there, and then if you have any questions, just let me know. And then you are hopefully have enough examples here to do your remote assignment this week. I hope you have a great day.